It's been 3 years since this type of car has been seen at IHRA drag races, but they're back. The Pro Dragsters, the fastest and most exciting machinery in drag racing. Today, the dragsters join nitro and alcohol funny cars and pro stockers at Darlington Dragway in South Carolina. ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World, setting the standards for the most extensive schedule in racing. ESPN cameras today are at the All-Pro Internationals at Darlington Dragway in South Carolina for event number 1 on the IHRA Series for 1987. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins along with Larry Newber. This is the first drag race of 1987 for IHRA. There are 8 on the schedule, and ESPN will have all of them for you.
And are the IHRAers really ready for this? There's a 1/3 mile dirt racetrack about, half a mile down the path here on the grounds. Between here and there, it seems like 10 miles because there are cars and parts and people all over the place. 732 strong have showed up this weekend to race here at Darlington.
And the Pro Dragsters have returned to IHRA competition.
Bob, they have, and I think most of the headlines and the new innovations in all of drag racing is likely to come from this division. Some of the technology they're sharing with Indy cars and some with Winston Cup stock cars. And IHRA is going to be there to watch this happen all along.
Some headlines, however, have come from the Sportsman division this weekend. For more on that story, let's go to our pit reporter for the afternoon, Brett Kepner.
While the nitro-burning Pro Dragsters have brought a lot of excitement to the 1987 IHRA season opener, there was another tremendous battle going on here this weekend. It was the race to 200 miles per hour by full-bodied stock-appearing machines in both Pro Stock and Top Sportsman Eliminator. Last night, it was this machine, Bill Coolman's Missouri Camaro, that made drag racing history by clocking a 202.24 mile per hour charge to become the first carbureted doored vehicle to break 200 miles per hour. And I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, at 202 miles an hour, we may have not seen the end of this battle. It's going to be a wild day here at the 1987 IHRA Winter Nationals.
All right, thanks, Brett. Our race today is being brought to you by Motorcraft Quality Parts. For all makes of cars, Motorcraft exceeds the need. And by Drag Review, all you need to know about drag racing. And we'll be back to begin our quarterfinal eliminations after these messages.
Heaven on earth.
Don't get him started about his car.
Hey, Pete, toss me the Quaker State. This new Quaker State with QSX is a miracle. It gives car-carrying people superior engine protection. Look at the sludge conventional motor oils leave behind. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. And that means I might spend the rest of my life in heaven.
Warn you.
Motorcraft Quality Parts travel with a fast crowd. Like funny car champion Mark Oswald. Pro stock champs Ricky Smith and Bob Glidden. Off-road champ Manny Esquera. Top NASCAR driver Ricky Rudd. Quality parts for all makes of cars and trucks. Motorcraft exceeds the need.
You won't believe what's happening inside your muffler. Rust that starts on the inside is eating its way through. The Napa Advantage muffler with Absorbite helps prevent internal rust. The inside of this muffler was not protected with Absorbite. This muffler was. You can see the difference. The Napa Advantage is even covered by a lifetime warranty. Of course, you may never have to use it. The Napa Advantage. It puts rust at a disadvantage. Available at thousands of Napa outlets.
You'll find spark plug wires like these on racing engines all over the world. The Moroso Blue Max Spiral Core spark plug wires. Racing engine builders know that Blue Max Spiral Core delivers full voltage to the plugs without static interference. But what does that mean for your car? Blue Max Spiral Core. Plug wires from Moroso. Race-proofing.
Darlington, South Carolina. People are no longer talking in exclusive terms about this being one of the birthplaces of stock car racing. The drag racing reputation, well-deserved, has grown in leaps and bounds in recent years. And it's an appropriate locale for the return after a 3-year absence of the Pro Nitro dragster.
Pro Nitro dragsters now have major corporate sponsorships, and the breed has actually increased. There are more of them now, many more than there were 3 years ago when we dropped them. So for that reason, we could see that they were growing. Because of the new swoopy bodies and everything, there's also been a resurgence in popularity with the fans. We found 3 years ago the popularity was dying with the fans because they were just kind of in a dormant ditch area, if you would, and now they've started doing more research and development and everything of that nature. So their popularity has increased with the fans. And of course, as in all motorsports, we're going to race what the fans want to see.
Top Fuel's come on to bigger and better things. You know, we went 260, Garlett's went 270. We're all trying to go 280. You know, I foresee that in our driving career, the Top Fuel dragsters will be going 300 miles per hour in the high 4-second bracket, and I'll still be driving, my hope. That's exciting. I mean, the fans fall out of the bleachers when you go up there and run a 270 on the scoreboard. I mean, to me, being part of that, that's history. Someday when I'm old and sitting in a rocking chair, I can look back at what I did, and I can say I was the first person to go 260. Maybe I'll be the first one to go 280. Who knows?
Both as a fan and as a journalist, I got to say that IHRA's timing is probably pretty good, because with all the aerodynamic changes, the closed canopies, the science changes up front, you're probably going to see the most changes in drag racing in these open-wheel Pro Nitro dragsters of all in the next couple of seasons.
And now we move to quarterfinals in Pro Dragster competition and elimination. Joe Amato will be going. He's from Old Forge, Pennsylvania. His opponent is going to be Bob Strauss from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Now, Amato is in a brand new car. His first pass was on Friday afternoon. There's his opponent, Bob Strauss.
And remember, Bob, that when IHRA stopped having the Pro Nitro dragsters a few years ago, Joe Amato was in the process of emerging as their well-established superstar. Big question for 1987, can he pick up where he left off?
It's a 270-inch wheelbase for Joe Amato. This is actually what we call a semi-streamliner. You can see some of the streamliner characteristics, but in other ways, the car is conventional. Green light flashes on. Amato looks good in the near lane, and he's got it.
He looked good at the end of the strip, but I'll tell you something, he really had to mind his P's and Q's as he roared down that strip. Comes in at 257 miles per hour, but it wasn't a cakewalk. Joe really had to drive to get that victory.
561 for Joe Amato and a 572 for Bob Strauss as we take a look at it again.
You can see him coming on strong there at the top end as they go through the traps, the speed traps, but halfway down it was head-to-head.
Amato with a better reaction time, a 195 compared to a 203 for Strauss. Getting set to go now from Pennsville, New Jersey is Hank Indris. And his opponent is going to be Bill Mullins, who hails from Pelham, Alabama.
Mullins is one of the better organized teams in all of drag racing. It's publicized very well. They come to the racetrack. You can see the car has very attractive looking. And Mullins probably has a little bit of an edge, at least psychologically, going into this quarter against Hank.
Indris in the near lane and Mullins in the far lane now as both cars move up to the staging line. This is a bit of a psych job that the drivers employ on each other. Indris now has come very close to his stopping point where Mullins is still inching up to the line.
The psych job continues. They both creep up ever so carefully.
There's a green light. Endress with a good hole shot off the line. He's going to win easily over Mullins.
Well, he really did, Bob. Mullins, who qualified 7th fastest. I don't know if he gave up or he broke at the end there, but the Endress, 2nd fastest qualified. Look at that mile per hour.
5:51 is a new world record for Hank Endress, breaking the previous record held by Gary Beck, set back in June of 1983. Endress with a new world ET record here at Darlington. Now we get set for pro stock competition. Jim Ruth is going to be in this race. He previously defeated Bob Glidden. Here is Brett Kepner with Bob Glidden and more on the story.
Easily the most disappointed man at Darlington International Dragway. Bob, I guess tire shake pretty much spelled defeat in the first round.
Yes, we've been making a few changes round by round, trying to keep the front end of the car down. I think we went too far. Other cars made good runs, so I don't really think it was the track conditions. You know, that's the way racing goes. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Well, the tire vibrations were severe enough to actually damage the transmission, correct?
We broke a transmission tower. I think Jim Ruth had trouble himself. If we'd had all 4 gears, I think I could have still won the race. But as it turned out, we lost, so we'll wait till the next race.
Oh, it's pretty obvious that he had some serious tire shake in that run.
And Bob, talking about the next race as we look at Roy Hill, Bob Glidden told me I got 200 miles per hour in my hip pocket. I know that's going to happen, but I'm going to concentrate on ET because that's how you win.
In the near lane, the Penny's Ford Thunderbird, driven by the hillbilly Roy Hill. The far lane has Jim Ruth from Moorhead, Kentucky. He's in a Pontiac Trans Am. Party time.
And they're off. Staging happened very quickly. There's Hill in the near lane. Party time in the outside lane. Hill's got the advantage.
Good race until about halfway down, and then Roy Hill took the advantage and went on to defeat Jim Ruth. And for Roy Hill, it's a 734, 190.27 miles an hour, and Jim Ruth turns in a 770, 181. Frank Iaconio from Flanders, New Jersey, getting set in his Ford Thunderbird. His opponent is going to be Tim Neighbors from Lawrenceville, Georgia, in a Chevrolet Camaro. Iaconio is in a Thunderbird.
There were a raft of pro stockers that were in at above 190 miles per hour in qualifying this week, including both of these people. This could be a good run.
Another good run, although it looks like that Neighbors has the advantage. He defeats Iaconio.
So the second generation driver, Tim Neighbors, the man from Lawrenceville, Georgia, down in Bill Elliott area, has moved on to the next round.
737 for Tim Neighbors and a 776 for Iaconio. Let's look at it once again.
Actually, Frank Iaconio got off the line just a little quicker than what Neighbors did, so Frank had the advantage, but it was very fleeting.
So Tim Neighbors moves on to the semifinals in his victory over Frank Iaconio. And we will be back with more of the All-Pro Winter Nationals from Darlington Dragway. Coming up, the funny cars.
The good people at John Young Ford have an ulterior motive when we say, let us do something nice for you today. We want your business, and we'll go out of our way to get it by saving you good money every day on your new or used car, truck, or van, on service, on financing, on leasing, and by serving you with the kind of courtesy and personal interest you didn't think existed anymore. So come meet our good people at John Young Ford, and let us do something nice for you today. We can save you money.
Scoring a touchdown is almost as satisfying as finishing a project around my house. It's teamwork that makes the difference. Service, selection, plus the lowest price is guaranteed. It makes the Grossman's team all pro in my book.
Beautify your home indoors or out with these healthy cascading asparagus ferns in 12-inch redwood hanging planters, now just $9.99. Save on Chacon's Terabyte all-purpose liquid fertilizer for healthy lawns and shrubs, only $3.99 after $2 rebate.
The America's Cup Sailors of the Future race for national honor, the High School Sailing Championship. I'm Chris Fowler. Join us for Scholastic Sports America, Saturday on ESPN.
It may well be the most controversial funny car in IHRA racing this year, but it seems to be the most effective at the Winter Nationals. Kenny, it seems that the downforce created by the huge rear section on this Buick LeSabre is what's keeping it on the ground.
Well, it certainly is what it's all about, is downforce. You can really give up drag in any form of racing, but you got to have downforce. Drag's important, but downforce is what makes them go fast, and Dale Armstrong and my entire crew did a super job this winter to come up with a Buick LeSabre.
The machine is easily the sleekest ever designed for this particular category, but it has created some controversy. The question is, are we going to be seeing more on this train of thought in the future in drag racing?
Well, it's hard to say. Obviously, as you say, it is controversy, but it is within the rules the way they are today, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's some rule changes for 1988, but you're going to see some other cars do something similar to it the rest of the year, and we'll see what 88 brings. But we're happy right now. It's within the rules. It's certainly a competitive type race car, and that's what we're looking for.
Well, when we introduced that car to you on Speed Week several weeks ago, it did create a lot of controversy and a lot of comments, but we have found that most drag racing fans like the newer shaped bodies. Now, Kenny Bernstein's opponent here in this first quarterfinal round is going to be Bruce Larson from Dauphin, Pennsylvania.
Bruce is actually working in conjunction with Joe Amato. It's a brand new engine combination that's been put together for the start of the IHRA season for Bruce. And again, we're in that situation where you look over there and you see the king of the mountain standing next to you, and so many thoughts have to go through your mind. How do I beat this guy? And I'll tell you, probably the best way is to try and get lucky at the light. Larson didn't get it lucky that time.
He sure didn't. It's going to be an easy win for Kenny Bernstein. He turns in a 567 on that run, 256.41 miles an hour. And Larson had a 601, 232. Reaction time much better for Kenny at 210 versus 318 for Larson. Now it's Doc Holliday against Tom Hoover.
Well, Holliday on the left there has been a runner-up here at Darlington. It was, in point of fact, last year. Hoover in his Showtime Trans Am, the man from Minnesota. Matter of fact, they're both from Minnesota. Let's see how the two North Stars get. Oh, and Holliday gets almost terribly out of shape. He saves it, but he loses the race.
The Dodge Daytona of Doc Holliday goes down to defeat to the Tom Hoover machine, the Trans Am. His father, George, is the crew chief on this car, and so Tom Hoover has a 598 and a win.
Lucky him, he gets to go up against Bernstein in the next round.
Very auspicious type assignment there for him. There you can see the smoke coming from Holliday's car, and that allowed Tom Hoover to just pull away.
Well, he wrestled it at least an eighth of a mile halfway down the quarter-mile strip.
But it wasn't all that much of an easy win for Tom Hoover as Holliday hung right in there.
Well, as a matter of fact, the qualifying ETs give you an indication as to how close the field was. Everybody was well within a half a second that was into the final 8.
All right, back to pro dragsters now, and set to go is Darrell Gwynn from Miami, Florida. They call him the Kid, and the Snowman is going to be his opponent, Gene Snow from Fort Worth, Texas.
Gwynn had a very unusual, I feel, run in qualifying. He only went 227 miles an hour, but he had the lowest ET. That's compared to the top speed of the meet, Amato's 259.
This could be a good race here. By the way, this car that Darrell Gwynn is running, look at the wheelbase on that thing. It's the largest in drag racing, 290 inches. It's sponsored by Budweiser, of course, and look at the tires on the front end of that car, if you can call them tires.
Yeah, the small wheels look awkward, almost childlike, but they are getting the job done, similar to the wheels that Garlett, and the Snowman has a blast at the top of the line, but it's not exactly what he had, and Gwynn looks like he's got some more engine problems.
A little bit of smoke coming from the Darrell Gwynn machine, too. It's a 567 on the win for Darrell Gwynn, and a 13:26 for Gene Snow. Snow was just not in this from the very beginning. There you can see the green light go on. And at the very beginning, a lot of smoke off those tires, Gene Snow.
Momentarily, it looked like that Snow had it, but he got about 15 feet off the line, and then the tires broke loose in the back, and Gwynn was able to coast home from there, which he did, just 178 miles an hour.
Set to go now, John Carey from Dover, Delaware. And in the far lane is a rookie driver who earned his license on Friday of this race. That's Michael Brotherton from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Both cars getting staged now, set to go in this quarterfinal competition. The winner will go up against Darrell Gwynn in the semis.
Brotherton, the 5th qualifier, and Carey, the 4th qualifier. So they were side by side after the qualifying runs.
Brotherton gets a good hole shot and records the victory.
And that's got to be recorded as an upset. Carey, of course, not one of the bigger names in racing, but you kind of expected him to at least take Rotherham all the way down the strip.
No shoot on the Carey machine, and he goes into the sand pit there, but does get it stopped without any serious complications.
Bob, I was down there a little earlier in the week. It's a very pastoral setting down there. There are cows grazing out in the pasture. You go out through an old farmer's fence to get back there, and there's lots of room to recover should you have a problem. And Carey didn't even come close to really getting in deep trouble.
Well, in just a moment, we're going to introduce to you the latest member of the 200-mile-an-hour club, and it will surprise you.
From racing to the road, competition cams are the best for increased power, performance, mileage, reliability. Whether you're racing, working, or cruising, competition cams deliver. Ask for competition cams at your nearest auto performance store. The complete system, factory match components designed to fit, engineered to work from the racetrack to the road. Whatever your needs, wherever you are. For the best possible performance for your vehicle, choose competition cams. We speak performance.
Facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer.
The full bodywork of pro stockers and funny cars often hides these, the front wheels, which the average fan does not get an opportunity to see very much. They are basically the same size as those at home on the family sedan, but their use is a little different. They have treads on them, and they kind of point you in the right direction. That is assuming that long before you come back down to earth, you've already steered that way.
Back to pro stock competition. Here's Ed Dixon, a Missouri driver. He's in the Callier Steel Ford Thunderbird, and his opponent is going to be the defending IHRA Pro Stock Champion, Ricky Smith from King, North Carolina, in the Motorcraft Ford Thunderbird.
Along with Glidden, I guess it's safe to call Mr. Smith Mr. 190 miles per hour. As you can see, the defending champion of this division. His qualifying time, 7.254, right down their knee tees, above 192 miles per hour. Second fastest, 192, would be very impressive if Glidden hadn't gone 199. Of course, I guess they both still are reasonably impressive.
It certainly is. Smith defeated Nick Nicholas in the first round, and Ed Dixon was victorious over Thomas
Dixon's
Jackson.
giving him a race.
Sure is close, right down to the line, but Ricky Smith pulls it out. Late, though.
Well, you go through those gears, you can see Ricky Smith's Motocraft crew celebrating. The experience, I think, of being a veteran really helped out Ricky. Well, there it is again, another 190-mile-an-hour run. But as he went up through the gears, all this happens, you know, in the space of 7 seconds. You can see it really paid off at the top end. His knowledge as to when to shift, when the RPMs are just right, when everything is just at the right place. He's got to shoot out before he crosses the line.
7:26 for Ricky Smith and a 7:44 for Ed Dixon. Already up the line, Billy Ewing in the near lane against Gary Hayjack. It's a close battle, but Ewing pulled it out.
Just barely. He only pulled it out on the boards that tell you time and speed, because visually you could not see any difference whatsoever. Look at the speed, another 190 run. 191.89 miles per hour for the Ewing & Ewing Camaro.
And here's how close it was. At the line, they're separated by inches. Well, we promised you an introduction to the latest member of the 200-mile-an-hour club. He comes from the Sportsman ranks, believe it or not, and here is Brett.
In drag racing history, there have been only a few truly historic moments. The first 200-mile-per-hour dragster run, the first 200-mile-per-hour funny car run, and now Bill Coolman, the man standing beside me, as the first man to break 200 miles per hour in a full-bodied, stock-appearing automobile. And Bill, that one run pretty much changed your entire career.
That's what I'm told. It was a lot of hard work, but I think it's going to be well worth it the way things are looking.
Well, while this machine does campaign as an outlaw or match race type pro stocker, running in a sportsman category here really made that 200 mile per hour run impressive. What do you attribute the ability of this car to hit 200 miles per hour to?
Well, the NOS nitrous oxide system is 300 horsepower that we couldn't find anywhere else on top of a very stout Sonny Leonard engine.
Well, at 615 cubic inches, it's a lot of power, especially with that nitrous oxide injection. But it's this wing, the largest wing ever put on a stock-bodied machine, that probably helped a lot.
The wing definitely helped the big end of the track, and that's where the mile an hour is. It's a definite safety feature that it helps us get down there.
Well, I know you pretty much put this car together with your family and your own chassis shop, and a lot of people are saying how neat it is for you to have done it since you're pretty much of a low-buck, home-built type racer.
Right, we do it all out of our pocket, and it just makes it that much more gratifying when we can do something like this.
Now, as is the custom on our ESPN IHRA drag races, we like to show you the winners of the Sportsman classes.
Defending world champion and top sportsman Terry Housley has won again. Modifieds to Dennis Mitchell. The quick rod to Steve Cohen, a two-time champ.
And the super rod win went to Ronald Duke. Ron Mayberry won hot rod, and Mark Trumbley the stock division. We'll be back with more from Darlington after these messages.
Time for an oil change. But we're not using your Quaker State. We're switching to something better. New Quaker State with QSX.
Introducing new Quaker State with QSX because car-carrying people want superior engine protection. Look at the sludge conventional motor oils leave behind. New Quaker State with QSX keeps engines cleaner to last longer.
I knew you'd like it. Ready? Hey, no!
Your Quaker State people, reaching for the best.
Motorcraft quality parts travel with a fast crowd. Like funny car champion Mark Oswald. Pro stock champs Ricky Smith and Bob Glidden. Off-road champ Manny Esquera. Top NASCAR driver Ricky Rudd. Quality parts for all makes of cars and trucks. Motorcraft exceeds the need.
One of sport's greatest moments is about to happen again. See every important moment of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs and championship series on ESPN. Be part of the great moments in the battle for the Stanley Cup, live on ESPN.
Back at Darlington, we have had some crashes in earlier runs, Larry.
Yeah, that's Clay Broadwater of Dalton, Georgia, the Northern Star, crossing the center line, then dancing back and forth on the exhaust headers, staying in a throttle, hitting the brakes at just the right time, and somehow keeping that funny car upright.
Magnificent job of driving.
Jefferson in the far lane and Caminito in the inside lane. Jefferson crosses the center line, gets into Caminito, and they come together against the left rail. Lots of debris, smoke, but no injury. And then Mark Oswald, Saturday qualifying. Blower explosion, big time. The bodywork flies off the car. Mark was actually hit in the helmet as well as the chest with debris. He badly damaged a little finger. As a matter of fact, it's required a great deal of surgery.
So he won't be able to go, and that means the first alternate, Scott Kalita, will be able to go here. Scott is from Belleville, Michigan. His opponent is going to be Tom the Mongoose McEwen in a Corvette.
Kalita has had just a miserable parts-breaking weekend, so McEwen probably comes in with his chest puffed out just a little bit. He's thinking we've had not a routine weekend, but certainly more routine than those guys over on our left.
Of course, his second-generation driver is Scott Kalita. He's in the Kalita Flying Service Olds Forenza.
Kalita is making his Darlington debut today, and McEwen is a veteran of 5 final runs in IHRA company. And Kalita, heavy-duty tire smoke, and McEwen's going to win this one easily. He may have some problems there at the top, and you see lots of smoke pouring out of the headers as he crossed the line.
205.94. That's a 6:13 to Kalita's 10.02. And here's a replay of it. You can see right off the line a lot of smoke coming from that Kalita machine.
Bob, the left lane has been the victim of a lot of incidents. A lot of oil has been spilled there. We just have experienced one period of cleanup that may or may not have been a factor in Scott Kalita's incident, but I'm sure it was psychologically, at least, in his head.
Looks like we may have a problem with the Al Herring car. He's from Lake Alfred, Florida, not apparently going to be able to go as they still have the hood up on that car. So Ed the Ace McCullough is going to have an easy run, and Herring has been eliminated because of a mechanical problem. Well, in the alcohol funny car division, Al DiPozo has defeated the defending world champion Bunny Burkett. And here is Brett.
Al DiPozo, you did it. Knocking off the reigning world champion at IHRA Racing, Bunny Burkett. You got to feel like $1 million after that one.
Oh, that was a great ride. I gotta really say, my partner, Dwayne Muelling, is so good at what he does. He takes the pressure off me. So the only pressure I have is driving it. So when you only got one little pressure to do, sometimes you can do it right.
You know, you've told me many times that you don't need any extra pressure. You have a hard enough time doing the driving.
Usually just a hard time getting to the track.
Well, the former dragster driver, now in his first full season in alcohol funny cars,